Hi everybody, this is our how to use the Labquest movie, and these are our Labquest machines you can see right in front of you here. They really both work the same way. This one's a little bit newer one with a bigger screen and the like, but the interface of them is the same. So I'm going to give you a quick explanation of how to use the older style one, simply because I have a few more of those. But if you look at these, they have some things in common. Both have this little stylus back here that you write on the screen with, and both have these little places up here, say channel 1, channel 2, channel 3, channel 4, and that's where you hook the probes up to. And the probes, and we use mostly the temperature probes, have a little detent right there that clicks them into place. You can see that, and you just push it down in. It really doesn't matter which one you choose, but you just push it in, and then you'll hear it click, and it's ready to go. And when you pull them out, you got to make sure you push that little detent there so that you can get them out. And then once we've got that going, then you just simply turn them on by the button on here, and our screen pops on. The first screen that you get is going to look just like the one that you see right now. It's just simply going to give you a readout of the thermometer that you're hooked up to. And you can see it's about 21.4 Celsius. And then it's got a lot of things on the menu up here. And one of them looks like a graph. And we use this a lot. And a lot of the questions you'll be asked to do will just ask you to copy the graph you see on this. So let's go to the graph for a moment. And with the graph, we often have to, as a matter of fact, we almost always change the X and the Y. What you currently see is the default settings that it always will go to. It'll always go up to 180 seconds, and it will always, for the X, it'll always go from 0 to 50 on the temperature for the Y. And we need to learn how to change that, and it's kind of tricky in one way. It doesn't make sense to me, but it's the way they work. To do this, we go to the graph, and we push the button, and you can see a menu falls down. The top one is graph options. We want to go to that. And all of a sudden, I see my X value right here going from 0 time to 180 seconds, and my Y value going from 0 degrees Celsius to 50 degrees Celsius. For reasons I can't figure out, we don't want to set the X value here. We're going to do that in a different spot, which I'll tell you in a minute. But if we set it here, we're going to have a problem. But here we can reset it, and I'm going to reset it so our temperature goes from 15 degrees Celsius to 30 degrees Celsius. And all I've got to do is highlight my bottom number, and up pops a little number menu. And I can go, I want 15, and you see 15 pop in there. I can go up top, and I'll put in 30. 30 pops in there, and I go, OK. And now you can see that my graph has reset from 15 to 30. It's no longer the default of 0 to 50. Now the time part of this is an odd one. For the time, we've got to go back to our initial screen, and we've got to go to mode. And when we go to mode, we see the time again here, 180 seconds. I'm going to change this to 60 seconds. And then I'm going to hit OK. When I go back to the graph, now I've got 0 to 60. Now, the reason we couldn't set the time on our first one under graph options is for some odd reason it'll change it here, but it will still stop it at whatever the default time is. So you just have to remember that whenever you're setting the X-axis, you need to do it from the initial screen on mode and not from the graph options screen. So once you've got this, you're ready to collect some data. And the way you collect your data is you hit this little green arrow right here, and you'll know you're doing it when it turns into a little red box. And you can see immediately across the screen, we are now getting a graph line of our temperature. Now I'm going to put my finger on the thermometer, and you're going to see that that's going to shoot way up, and that will, of course, immediately show up on our graph. And I'll go ahead and let go of the thermometer. And as we would suspect, it's going to drop back down now that my hand's off it. Now I could sit there and let this go to 60 at the end of a graph where it will just automatically stop. Or if I want to stop it earlier than that manually, I can just hit the red box again, and it will go to a green arrow, and that means it's done collecting any data. And oftentimes, again, on many questions, I just ask you to copy the graph that you see. And that's basically how you use these. And on this first day with them, I want you to practice setting the X and the Y axis to different settings just to make sure that you can do that smoothly. Now, when we're done with our Labquest, we go up to File, and we go to Quit. And we're always going to get this prompt. It says, you have unsaved data. Do you wish to save or discard this data? Always choose to discard the data so we're not plugging up our machines. Then, of course, the screen goes blank. Then we can just go back to the button that is the on-off button, and we can turn it off. On the new machines, you don't even hit the on-off button. The quit button will make that turn off. And then our last things that we need to do is we're going to go ahead and take our probe out by pushing the little button there. And we want to put our styluses in. And the final thing is we're going to go put them back in the charging station. And you got to keep one thing in mind at the charging station. The older ones have kind of a round profile on the bottom here. And they go in a round receptacle on the charging station, whereas the newer ones have a more square profile to them, and they go into the square one. So you got to make sure that when you put these in, one, you're putting them in the right end. Don't put them in the end with the ports. Put them in the end with the charging, and you got to make sure that you put them in the correct shaped receptacles. And it's easy on these because these ones don't fit in the round receptacles, but the round receptacles will fit into the square ones. They just won't charge. So that's it. I hope everybody has a fun time using these machines. They're really slick little units.